Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast and another edition of 25 for 25, where we are counting down the top 25 Knicks of the last 25 seasons. This has been our summer-long project. We finally entered the top 10 in our last episode. And dare I say, this is a very special episode. I mean, they're all special. Again, it's the top 25 Knicks of the last 25 years. There'll be some heavy hitters coming up. But there's something about this one that I've been looking forward to especially. And you obviously see who the episode is about. And you could probably understand why. Before I get there, though, let me introduce my co-host, Andrew Claudio. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, John. How are you? I'm good. I'm great. Sorry. When you said before I do anything, I thought we were going to the social plug, so I put that up. Then you introduced me, and then I was caught off guard because you didn't say, how are you? You just said, hi, Andrew. And I went, hi, John. And you went right for the coffee. So you can tell we're off and running here on a Wednesday morning. I feel great, and the Mets are collapsing, and I clearly gave up on the wrong team that ends in Nets. That's clearly how my life is going at the moment.
I mean, you were never in on the Nets, so that's good
I made that good life choice.
No, thankfully. That was a good decision. Shout out to Evan Roberts, our buddy. No, I was introducing you first before I did the social plug, because I was gonna say, in honor of today's Josh Hart episode, Andrew Claudio is showed up under the weather. He is a little bit not feeling his best today, but he's going to toughen out because, just like Josh Hart, Andrew Claudio doesn't miss games. And I realized that would have been a more appropriate quip to make about Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges didn't make this list.
Didn't make the list. Don't worry. Working on an honorable mention pod potentially, but I need to find somebody else that actually wants to talk about Mikal Bridges.
My favorite, it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the episodes that we record. Easily my favorite part of this entire 25 for 25 experience is the text, either the text you sent, which was, I think, something to the effect of, did you forget Mikal Bridges exists? Or Benji's response, which was something to the effect of, Mikal Bridges?
Are we talking about Mikal Bridges? And you laughed at that. Yes, I remember. Did. Indeed.
I'm just a hater. Actually, I want to come back to that thought in a second. Before I do, quick reminder, follow us on all of your social channels at Knick Film School. That is SKOOL. You also follow me on JC Macri MBA. I'm sticking to my resolution, my new basketball year resolution of posting a lot of stuff on there. And do all the other stuff too. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on alerts, especially now that we're getting closer to basketball season, and you want to know, if there's news that breaks, or if the Knicks maybe have eventually sign, I don't know, players to the rest of their roster,
or just when we release a new episode. That's when they get alerted to stuff. When we upload it, go live, literally, just turn on alerts, people. We will. Then you'll know whenever we have something new on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and do all your rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts so people can find out about us. And if you're interested in more bonus content, subscribe on Patreon. So here we are to talk about Josh Hart, who Andrew just put the resume up on the screen. And let's go through the resume first. Then when we go through the voting totals, I'm gonna have something to... I'm going to have to say something for myself, as everybody will see in a minute. So, Josh Hart. Who is Josh Hart? I mean, he's Josh Hart. He attended Villanova. He's a 2016 NCAA champion. He was drafted 30th overall by Utah in 2017 and was immediately traded to the Lakers. It just occurred to me now, for the first time, that Josh Hart and David Lee were picked with the same pick. Did not realize that.
Yes.
And I'm already wondering who is the third most. Is there another notable 30th overall pick in the history of the NBA, or of the not NBA draft, of the Knicks draft? Jimmy Butler, I believe, was the third.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jimmy Butler's number 30.
No, but in Knicks draft history, I'm curious if there's someone else notable. I'm going to look that up while we're doing the show at some point. He was traded to the Knicks in February of 2023 for Cam Reddish plus 2 players and a protected pick that became Chris Murray, who I believe is still on the Portland Trailblazers, although I do not think he is going to figure very prominently in the rotation this year, based on at least what you read this offseason. Are you going to ask me who the other 2 players were?
Well, yeah, we know who they were. One was a former Villanova teammate of his, Ryan Arcidiacono.
Oh, that's right. They traded Archie to get him. I forgot that part.
Yeah, and the other is Svi Mikhailuk, who ended up bouncing around from Boston to Portland, playing a little bit on some bad teams. Sharpshooter, Svi Mikhailuk. Yes.
Very sharp, extremely sharp. He has 15 triple doubles as a Knick. The only one other Knick has more than 2. I'm assuming you mean only one other Knick has more than 2 in this time frame.
Yeah, since 2001, and they will show up on this list in the future.
Yes. More than 2 in the relevant time period. Yes.
And since 2001, he has 15 triple doubles. Only one other Knick has more than 2 triple doubles. Emmanuel Quickley has 2. Everybody else has 1. The player we're not naming will show up much higher on this list.
Yes, and I am of course going to pretend that I know exactly who that player is.
I'll go get a paper plate, and maybe that'll remind you.
That was my assumption, but I wasn't like 1,000% sure. I wouldn't have bet my mortgage on it. I'll just say that. In the playoffs, in the relevant time period that we're talking about, the last 25 seasons, he's 3rd in total points. That is astounding. Wow. And 3rd in total 3-pointers made, which is just funny. He is 2nd in total assists, 2nd in total steals, and 1st in total rebounds. That means Josh Hart has had more rebounds in the playoffs for the Knicks in the last 25 seasons than any other person to put on a Knick uniform.
Yes.
He is 6'4".
Don't tell him that.
I won't. Yeah. I also won't tell him what position he actually plays, because that gets him very upset. And then he was the NBA minutes leader this past season at 37.6 minutes per game.
Before we move on, you wanted to look up how many, the best number 30 picks the Knicks have ever made,
or if they've ever even made another.
Well, one notable one, Mikel Lampe in the
Mage
Lampe. Excuse me,
please.
Would you like to know my top 5 of the Knicks number 30 picks?
I'm shocked that they made number 30 picks
because they've only made 2: David Lee and Lampe.
There you go. Okay.
There you go.
That's the answer to my question.
Honorable mentions for number 3, 4, and 5 are whoever they end up picking at 30 when they win the title this year.
So, stuck that one in there. 82 or no. Here we go. Incoming.
98 no, buddy.
Sorry about that. So, I don't. This is as good an entryway into the Josh Hart conversation as anything. And this may just be a me thing. I'm going to warn everybody at first the way I'm going to start this, but I'm going to start the way I'm going to start it. So Josh Hart checks in at number 9. As you could see, if you might need a magnifying glass, as you could see, there were some people that had him pretty freaking high, including the person that I am talking to right now. GMAC, you had him 6th overall.
The highest.
Tied with
Benji for the highest.
Benji Ritholtz. Yeah. One below that is DJ Zulo, who had him 7. Mark, who is, I will note, another old head like me and DJ, also had him 7. And then everybody else had him between 10 and 13, with the exception of me, who had him 14th, which was the lowest of anyone. I am currently sitting here doing this episode, recording with I didn't use a KFS mug today. I used my Josh Hart mug. And I have a Josh Hart mug. Shout out to Ben Kim Gervey, because Ben Kim Gervey for Christmas a year ago, right?
Yeah, this past Christmas. Yeah.
Sent us, me and you, I think. Sorry for anybody else who didn't get a mug, but listen, what can I say? Ben likes us. He sent us this because Where'd Andrew go?
I'm going to get mine.
Oh, you're going to get your mug. Okay. Well, then I guess maybe I should filibuster for about 30 seconds or 20 seconds, however long it takes Andrew to go from his kitchen back to his studio. Oh, look, he's back. I don't have to filibuster anymore. Okay. So Ben gave us you didn't miss anything. So
I know. I was going to be gone for 4 seconds. I figured whatever you were going to say, I would just hear from the other room.
It would be funny if I said something that would get us canceled and I just told you afterwards, like, don't worry about it. You don't have to take that.
Thankfully for you, this show is a very good producer that pays attention in post-production. So
that would be
nothing I can do about live, but I got you in post-production.
and we're trending to doing more live content.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't listen. I don't know. Maybe I should have asked Ben ahead of time. Why did you decide to send us this lovely gift? I think it's because Josh Hart has been something of a lightning rod over the course of the time he's been here. But I personally thought it was because Ben recognized that I was a big fan of Josh Hart and that we at KFS, generally speaking, have always been defenders of Josh Hart. And I'd like to think that I have maybe not led that charge over the time that he's been here, and in particular over the last year and change, when there has risen up some more vocal contingents arguing for Josh Hart to maybe have a more reduced role. And so why do I have him ranked lower than anyone? And it goes back to the McCall thing, and it goes back to some other who's not on this list because he didn't make it. It goes back to Deuce, who I had at 31, which was among the lower rankings. It goes back to some people, OG Anunoby. I think I was not lower on OG than anyone. I was among the lowest. I think I was the second lowest on OG. And it goes to some other people that are yet to be named on the list, who you will see that I am also lower on than anyone. And I think more than any other voter here at the faculty, I think I kind of not held the current players to like a higher standard. I don't know if that would be the accurate way of putting it, but I just didn't. The word that is coming to mind is revere them as much, maybe because they are still playing. And the nature of this list, which is like to honor the best of the last 25 years, you know what? Actually, now that I'm talking it out, maybe I did hold them to a little bit of a higher standard. And as it pertains to Josh Hart in particular, what is Josh Hart? What's the first word? Well, name some words that come to mind when you just hear Josh Hart.
Here, there, every bleeping where. Josh Hart. That's what the mug says, by the way. The tweet I sent out the night we got Josh Hart, that it's the Roy Kent chant from Ted Lasso, but replace Roy Kent with Josh Hart.
What is he as an NBA player, though?
Role player, like the super role player. Yes.
Bingo. He is a role player. And I think when I was doing my rankings, and I went back and I reconsidered them like a couple times before I hit the send button. I was like, all right, guy who's been here for 2.5 years. He has always been unquestionably a role player on the team. Although there were, again, fringes of the All-Star conversation. You could have heard Josh Hart's name this past season. But he's a role player. And he's a role player who is a role player probably unlike any role player that we've had as Knick fans in our lifetime. You know, the closest comp, maybe John Starks in a weird way. Very different sort of players, but in terms of like, and I know John Starks was before your time, so you didn't like watch John Starks. The attitude they had, what they brought to the game, the volatility where one night you're like, oh my God, this guy's the most important player on the floor. And then the next night be like, oh my God, this guy's the most important player on the floor for not the right reasons. So he's like, there's no one else like Josh Hart. He's unique. He's one of one, both on the court and off. And yet I think I couldn't get past in my own head. Like, he's a role player. He's here right now. He's not one of the 3 or 4 most important players on the team. He might not even be starting next year. because of waves hands, frantically. So I think maybe if there's one that I'm going to just sit here and be like, think I got this one wrong, this would be the one that I think I probably got wrong by not having him, at least closer to the top 10. But I'm just trying to be open and honest about it. Like it was my initial reaction. And then even when I reconsidered, I think I struggled to put him much higher.
So when we eventually reveal a few other names on this list, you'll see that I have Josh Hart over them because I have him at number 6 for me. And to where you held this era that the Knicks are currently into a higher standard, I revere it as something so special to what has happened to this franchise in the last 25 years. Like this exercise we've gotten to do in talking about the David Lees and the Jamal Crawfords and the Stephon Marburys and the Kurt Thomases, like getting to talk about these people that went through the darkest period in this franchise's history and the most lost, where just putting one foot in front of the other and we would settle for a 3-game winning streak, let alone a sniff at a tied for the 8th seed in February. And this now, like, I believe there's 4 questions as a sports fan that you ask of your sports team going into the season.
This is great stuff. I can't wait to hear this.
Every sports fan asks their team, are we going to the playoffs? Are we going deep into the playoffs? Are we going to the championship? Are we going to win the championship? And with this run that they're currently on, that first answer to that first question is always yes. No. And we didn't have that as an answer for the majority of this century.
No, we did not.
And it's why I held Emmanuel Quickley and OG Anunoby and Josh Hart. And when we eventually talk about him, Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns and Julius Randle in such high regard. And it's why, like, the second question, really, are you a deep playoff team, right? I think Josh Hart has a lot to do with that. When he came here, I believed we were a team that was done just being happy to make the first round. No, we're a team that wants to go to the second round. That first season when he got here post trade deadline, that 16-6 run where he would just come in the game and, for lack of a better way of saying it, fuck shit up. And suddenly you mentioned the conversation around Josh Hart, and the consternation around Josh Hart for this season. I really hope we get back to a point where we can celebrate what he's brought to this franchise at a certain point. So, and I think it'll come up throughout the categories today.
It's, my God. Remember that time on a podcast where I was like, I'm so happy I never have to talk about Tom Thibodeau again?
Well, I figured this is going to come up in a category. So I wanted to save the Tibbs convo for because I think it works both ways.
This isn't the Tibbs combo. This is another combo. My point is, what a fucking idiot I was. What was I drinking that day? Because
that you'll never talk about
the notion
again?
Like, because whatever they do from here on in, good or bad, it will be inextricably intertwined with the Tibbs conversation. The reason why I just thought of Tibbs now is Josh Hart is a poor man's version of the Tibbs thing, and the reason why I vociferously defended both men are not just because Tom Thibodeau was the one who decided to keep playing Josh Hart as many minutes as he did, but because much like Josh Hart, and more so in my mind at least, my view on Tom Thibodeau was always, man, we have gotten so far away from the point where we were just looking at this guy like, thank you for making this franchise a competent one. And we're now all the way, back around where people are like, okay, what have you done for me lately? With Josh Hart, it was, again, a lesser version of that same exact thing. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is because of Tibbs. So there's a lot going on there. But more than anything, and I've said this about Josh Hart probably more than anything I've said about him, which is that, to your point that you just said about the David Lees and the Stephon Marburys and the Kurt Thomases and the Jamal Crawfords and the Nate Robinsons and all those guys, during those years, what appendage would we not have given up to have had a guy that went out on the court and performed and gave everything of himself like Josh Hart gives every time he steps foot on the court. And yet here we are collectively as a fan base, not exclusively, but in large part, being like, man, I wish this guy played fewer minutes. And those two things never, like, that's why I was always kind of the way, or I have been the way I've been about Josh Hart.
I think knowing you the way I know you and getting to know you and being your work wife, I guess at this point, John, like, I knew where it was coming from, and I knew it was an extension of the argument. And again, I have him sixth. My good friend Ben Ritholtz also has him sixth. We would make the same arguments that it's not play Josh Hart 0 minutes, it's play him less minutes. The argument is not he's playing poorly, he's overexposed. And it's why you can't separate the Josh Hart conversation from this past season from Tom Thibodeau and him being the NBA minutes leader. I put that on the resume for a reason. Like, him being the NBA minutes leader, I believe was a mistake, but how big of a mistake could it have been? They made it to the conference finals and were 2 wins away from the finals.
Benji nailed it when I forget the first time he said it. It's probably a year and a half ago. Josh Hart's a 25 to 30 minute a game player. That's what he should be.
So a lot of us have been saying that for a while. And
I remember Benji said it first.
Believe me, we know that he's the first person you heard say it, but the fact that Josh Hart, this stretch that I'm talking about in 2022, when they traded for him, they go 16-6 and clinch the 5 seed. And now we're done looking at the bottom. We're done looking at the play-in races. We're done looking at the bottom of the conference. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Josh Hart, like Emmanuel Quickly, Art. I mean, they were that closing lineup with either Hartenstein or Mitch, and then those four, Quickly, Hart, Brunson, and Randle, just became an outstanding closing lineup. And like, sorry RJ, sorry Quentin Grimes, like your minutes are going to be cut as a result of this. And the point where I'm going with this is what made it so beautiful. He averaged 30 minutes a game. He wasn't averaging 37, playing 40. He was playing 30 minutes. He would play 25 some nights. He'd play 35 some nights. He'd play a good range in there that didn't overexpose him. And I think we got away from that because he went into the starting lineup and never came out at a certain point.
And the funniest part of that is, I think a big reason why his minutes were where they were is because RJ Barrett was on the team. And as long as RJ was on the team, RJ was always going to get his 30 minutes plus a night. And I remember, and this is why, like, this is like all swirling around at once, because on my rankings, I had Josh Hart at 14. I had RJ Barrett at 13.
Yeah.
And yet, as soon as they made the Josh Hart trade, and I was like, oh man, now we can have this guy on the floor to end games as opposed to RJ Barrett. This is what basketball is supposed to look like. And it was like that moment where the Knicks elevated from, to go back to your the 4 questions you asked. Mm-hmm. I don't know. They jumped up a yes. We got, like, as soon as the Josh Hart trade got made. And yeah, so it's like, okay, so why do I have RJ a spot higher than him? RJ was asked of RJ, and I go back to the role player part of it with Josh Hart, even though he so excelled in that role. And again, where would the conversation be now if he stayed in that role as opposed to a role that has been maybe 15%, past what or more than he should have had all this time.
Yeah. Look, I obviously want to spend this episode celebrating the guy. I did go back. I was bedridden a lot yesterday, and I pulled up our Hall of Fame episode we did with Benji last year on Josh Hart. And the big takeaway I had is that a whole season went by and I wouldn't add another game. That's what this past season was. It was not anything to add to the Josh Hart. So for those who don't know, last summer, during our summer content, we did Hall of Fame episodes. And what we did was went through an entire player's, for lack of a better word, filmography, their basketball reference, their game log. And we highlighted games that stood out the most during their tenure with the Knicks. We just did 3 guys. We did Jalen Brunson, we did Julius Randle, we did Josh Hart. And we narrowed it down to 10 by the end for all 3 of them, which ended up being a perfect send-off for Julius, and we'll talk about him in the future. But when we did the Josh Hart episode, there's so many playoff games, there's some regular season games, but the guy had been here a year and a half, and I was curious going into the season now with the 4 Villanova guys together, how many Josh Hart games would we add? And I hate to say it, after the way this season went, and honestly, the way he was used and the way he performed at times, there's nothing to add to the Josh Hart Hall of Fame from this past season. And it's a shame, which is, we will get to the categories that I want to bring that point up again, because I'd like to get back to the point where we appreciate that championship teams have a Josh Hart type on them. And I'm glad we have him on ours.
I think if we include the playoffs, there's probably a playoff game, at least one playoff game that we would be able to add to the Josh Hart Hall of Fame. Which one? Game 2 against Boston.
Yes, that would be a Josh Hart game. I think
23 points, 9 of 15 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. 6 rebounds, 3 assists.
You know what? So we could add that one. You're right. We could add that one. Game 1 and 2 blend together for me because I'm still kind of shocked they won them.
He had a near triple double in Game 4 against Detroit. That's a
Jalen Brunson game. That's an OG game. That's in everybody in the second half game. But yes, like Josh Hart played well in certain spots in the playoffs. Yes, I maintain the conversation around Josh Hart made him be somewhat of a scapegoat for some of the issues that a team that didn't have many that got talked about a lot. But yeah, we went through a year and a half and found 10 games and had to narrow it down to 10 games. And last year, we're talking 1 or 2 maybe that get added to consideration over a guy that started his entire time until the last 4 games of the postseason.
And he, and we're talking about a team that had they won 64 wins, right?
Did they win 13 playoff games? No, won.
Sorry. I was thinking 54. 61 wins. 61.
Yes, they had 61 wins total.
61 wins. One more. No, not one more. How many more than I'm getting all over the place. How many more games did they win than the 2012-13 team?
That team won 54 games and then 60. So yeah, exactly one more. They won 60,
one more. There you go.
60 games total.
Okay.
Made it around further. I'd hope they'd win more than that team.
But the point is, on the Knick team, that for the relevant time period we're talking about, the 25 years, that won more games than any other. There's not one, again, with the possible exception of that Boston game, there's not one game from this season that you could look at and say that was a Josh Hart game. Which is, again, just fascinating to think about the difference between this season and last season, which was, it was a Jalen Brunson season, but in so many ways, I'm always going to remember that as a Josh Hart season.
Yeah.
And it was because he needed to do everything because they didn't have anybody else to do anything. And it was like, that was what made it so magical. All right. Quick break to tell you about America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. You know the words. Shout out to Cornbread. Yes, Cornbread, the source of your healthy, happy hour. It's a natural and healthier way to experience a carefree moment. Cornbread's THC gummies offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. Well, how do they achieve that balance? My favorite thing about Cornbread is it's just the right amount for me as someone who is not a regular user of these sorts of products, but still wants to get that relaxation without feeling anxious or paranoid like some other cannabis edibles, which is why Cornbread's 1-to-1 THC to CBD ratio is perfect for me. They have 10 milligrams of THC per gummy, which is just the right dose, and it gives me everything I need without any of the stuff that I don't want. If you are looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They have created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that is 100% legal. As a special offer to Knicks Film School listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use promo code KFS at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/KFS and use code KFS for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. Let's get into the categories. Best memory, lasting image as a Knick. I mean, I don't know. Is there 30 to choose from?
At least 10.
There is at least 10. My own, I don't know about, so it's just a weird one. Best memory and lasting image are different. Like, my lasting image of him is probably one from like the first week he got here, when he was on the court and he was just feeling the vibes of MSG and he was getting showered with all this love and he was like, pumping his fist in the air. That's probably going to be my lasting image. My best memory of him, and the Knicks could win the championship, and there's still a part of me that thinks this might be the same answer, is the game one shot against the Cavs in the 2023 playoffs.
Back to Josh Hart. Shot clock at 4. Now at 3. Hart, three-pointer. Bang! Josh Hart from downtown as the shot clock expired.
That's a tie for me because they had blown the lead and then he hit the 3 with the shot clock winding down. Again, it continues to be, the word you used was correct, fascinating to talk about the playoff hero, Josh Hart, compared to the subset conversation that exists about him. Like, where would we be if we didn't have Josh Hart and we're starting at other people? And it's like, well, if you actually go to what he helped accomplish here, like, go talk to, listen, I did the chase down last week, my second home, talking about the Cavs, right? And like, go talk to them about Josh Hart. Go talk to Cavs fans about Josh Hart. I'm on there talking about how Josh Hart was overexposed, maybe playing too few many minutes, and they're like, you talking about the guy that made Evan Mobley and Jared Allen like look very small in a playoff series that we're afraid of in Cleveland every time we play him. It's the memory is tied because the image I have of Josh Hart is him with his arms out wide in that Philly arena after hitting a series clinching 3 in game 6 against Joel Embiid and those losers from Philadelphia. Like, that's to me what I will remember is, to your point, a game 1 clutch shot to hit to win. And then in a series in which he had big shots to win game 1, in an unreal first half to win game 2, and then the clinching shot to win game 6. Like, there are so many playoff memories I have from Josh Hart. Like, Sean says this all the time. Like, the line that I said earlier, that like the championship teams have a Josh Hart on them, and how there's a reason that Steve Kerr in FIBA, with all these all-stars around, was like, I need to put Josh Hart on the floor. And good things happen when Josh Hart's on them. That's a quote from your friend, Zach Lowe.
You mentioned Joel Embiid, who we love to poke fun of on the show for very good reason. Who's had more big playoff moments, Josh Hart or former MVP Joel Embiid? It's Josh Hart, and it's not close.
Well, you have to play games in order to have moments. So.
Well, yes, but look,
you're right, though. Like, his best moment is a 50-point game in a series where they won twice, and he should have been ejected in the first half. His second biggest moment is crying after Kawhi hit a game-winning shot.
You're terrible. My daughter's coming to say, "Oh, have a good day at school, honey."
Bye.
Bye.
Those are the best interruptions. Yeah,
those are the best interruptions. I'm not going to argue with that. Okay. Transition. Biggest regret. Something you wish would have got differently or better, even if out of their control. I mean, this is the most obvious answer of. Well, it's the most obvious answer of any of these questions that we have done or will do on this series. Here's my question for you. Mitchell Robinson did not show up until the last 17 games of the regular season, or 14 games, whatever it was, last month or so. So it would have been Deuce McBride. When do you think that change should have occurred?
Somewhere in February.
Okay.
Either late January, early February. I had wondered if they were going to be able to get something deadline wise, and when it was very clear they weren't, it was very clear to me that they should have at least given it another look. And again, it ties into my regret, because I don't regret him starting as much as he did. I regret that the other lineup never got
real minutes,
because I was fine starting Josh Hart and even closing with Josh Hart. It's just, if he's playing poorly, he shouldn't have the same like mandatory leeway. And this is why it's tough to separate Josh from Tibbs, because talk about a player perfect for a coach. He was the player meant to play for Tom Thibodeau, always giving 100%, always like no nights off, every game on tilt, So Josh and Tibbs clearly had that relationship. The game after Brunson sprained his ankle and they had no point guard, Josh played 47 minutes, and it was like, Josh, you run the show tonight, and I'm still figuring out what to do from here, but I know I can trust Josh to run my team for a night. And I don't fault, like, that's just a microcosm of what it was, that even if he's playing poorly, he's someone I want on the floor because I trust him the most, even though we just got this 5-out machine, a thing that's supposed to make 5-out a weapon for us, and we can't play 5-out if he's refusing to shoot.
When it would have been a good time to do it is, so OG Anunoby goes down on February 1st, the Laker game, aka the day of the Luka Doncic trade. Precious Achiuwa starts the next 7 games after that, the first 5 of which Josh start, and then the last 2 Hart has to miss the first 2 games out of the All-Star break. It's an up and down stretch. They had some quality wins in there. They had some closer wins than they probably should have been. OT win against the Hawks, OT win against the Bulls. They also got annihilated against the Cavs. They got annihilated against the Celtics. Achiuwa, that was when the Tibbs conversation, I think, really wrapped up to 11, because Achiuwa starting with Josh Hart was like, what are you on drugs? Like, what are we doing here?
Yep.
Perhaps the highest volume was when they came out in the second half against Cleveland in that second game after the All-Star break, and Achiuwa was still in the starting lineup to start the second half. I remember DJ Zulo had that great post game. What if when OG went down, Tibbs, who never would have done this, went to Josh Hart and be like, look, I want to stay. I feel like we need a little bit of size. I want to start Precious. It's going to kill our spacing. I want to stick Deuce in the starting lineup and have you come off the bench, and you're still going to play a ton of minutes, but I think this is what's best for the team.
I would have rather gone with Deuce McBride instead of Precious Achiuwa.
And started Deuce and Josh.
Started the better player over the bigger player, which continues to be the biggest crutch and issue I had with Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Precious Achiuwa doesn't have a job right now, and he started those 7
Although
games.
I saw there was a rumor Miami
yeah.
interested.
Someone's agent did a favor there.
Someone's agent did someone a favor.
Yeah.
Look, if the point
I understand the argument you're making to find a spot for it.
Find a spot.
The spot was, this lineup's not really working that much, and these other lineups might be able to work better. And even more so, this one lineup, every 5 possessions that I try it works a lot. So it's what, again, the argument was never, I'd never want Josh Hart to play. He needs to play 10 minutes. It's like, you got Karl-Anthony Towns, spread the floor. Let me see what that looks like for 5 to 10 minutes a game. And then if you want to close with the guy that's going to get the big rebound every game, I'm okay with that. But we saw when Mikal doesn't have it, okay, Deuce, you're closing tonight. If Josh doesn't have it, he for some reason had to close every night. And there were nights when Josh didn't have it and Deuce stayed. It's all in context. It's why this leads into the next question perfectly. I am so curious how different Mike Brown's going to treat this situation.
If he treats it differently at all.
Right. I am so curious. And it's my biggest question for the season, to be honest.
And maybe this is just me. My biggest question is, how do I put this? How explicit did the conversations get about what the starting lineup would be when Mike Brown was going through the hiring process? Like, I don't even want to suggest that Mike Brown was hired on the premise that he was going to switch the starting lineup, because I don't think that's how this regime does things. I don't think I think that's too far. But I would not be surprised if it was strongly implied that Mike Brown was going to at least very strongly consider some kind of a change.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting here right now, how would you power rank the possibilities?
I think Josh Hart's starting on opening night.
I don't.
I think he starts with that lineup. I do think if it's not, like, if he's running into the same issues that Tibbs is running into, he goes to either Deuce. I'm starting to drink the Yabusele Kool-Aid that maybe Yabu is an option.
Tough shooting night in the Georgia game. 1 of 7 from downtown in an upset loss. But
you know way more about that than I do. I'm just very much like, as a player on the NBA court this year, there may be a moment where we're like, man, every lineup that Yabu's in is gangbusters.
And I mean, that'd be great if that was the case.
So, like, maybe that's an option. Maybe they go to, I mean, the Mitch lineup is there. I think Mitch is, we'll talk about Mitch in the future. I think there's a Mitch option. I think Josh is starting opening night. And then, because if it's Deuce that starts, then Mitch and Josh are coming off the bench, and then the other lineups where they have to play together. Now, you've pointed this out. Those lineups are actually very good together when Mitch and Josh play together.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Yeah.
Because I keep seeing it discussed or hearing people talk about it. Well, then you have Josh and Mitch coming off the bench. Here's my hot take, I guess. The hill that I'll die on that people are going to kill me for before the season even starts. I don't think that's that big of a deal.
Well, so to your point, and it's where I wanted to go with the Cleveland conversation that I was talking about earlier. I went on the chase down, and they asked me what lineups I think would work best against the Cavs. And I said, I got to be honest, like, you still have not shown me, the Cavs have still not shown me that they can stop a rebound heavy team if they put Mitch and Josh together in the second unit, or Mitch and Cat and Josh together. I know it's going away from the spacing that everybody wants to have. I mean, shoot, I want the Knicks to have it, but the Knicks' number one contender in my mind for the Eastern Conference title this year is Cleveland. I think the Knicks have one of the biggest weapons in a Cavs series, and his name is Josh Hart. And that's coming off the bench. That's in the starting five. Like, wherever you want to put Josh Hart, I think he's going to be essential in beating the Cavs. And as Cleveland fans, they feel the same way.
I think Josh Hart is going to average the 5th most minutes on the team this year. And I would power rank the starting lineup with Hart in it. I would power rank it 3rd after Deuce and Mitch. I'm not 100% sure which I would put first. There's a part of my gut that's telling me they're going to go with Mitch. There's a part of my gut that's telling me they're going to go with Deuce. I don't think it's going to be Josh. I really don't. I think there needs to be. I think Mike Brown, whether or not how much they talked about this in the hiring process or not, I think reading the room, I think he probably knows that there needs to be something, just some shift to just, because that, man, the starting five, the vibes were, I don't know to tell everybody here, which is, again, part of the Josh Hart conversation. How much of that was because Josh Hart's not the best spacer in the world, and how much of that has to do with just the fact that those 5 guys together over the last X number of months of the season, just like they didn't have it as a group.
His skills as a starter were more convenient, and they more fit a lineup with Hartenstein as your rim protector, or if Mitch is in the game. It's why
he's a non-spacer. Well,
but it's if you're trying to win the possession battle, is what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're gonna be a team that the way we are most efficient is we get 1 and 2 and 3 tries at every possession, then like that's where Hartenstein was so lethal during his breakout season. And same thing with Mitch. It's why the Cavs series always stood out to me as, oh, this is Tibbs ball. Like, this is how they're gonna win this series. It's when you got further into the playoffs and teams figured out how to beat Tibbs ball on the offensive end, that made it a little more difficult, because it forced Josh Hart to become a shooter. And it's really just the Miami series that he wasn't. So yeah.
But last thing on this, by the way, is why I don't think having Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson both coming off the bench is a big deal. 1, because there's going to be staggering even in the regular season. 2, even if it is the primary backup unit of the regular season, once we get to the playoffs are a different animal. If after one half of one playoff game, it's like, oh, they're ready for this, and we just can't score with these lineups. But number 3, and this is the most important point, you want to talk about how do you score, when you don't have your starting 5 on the floor if you're the Knicks this season? It's how they've scored for the last 3 years. Give Jalen Brunson the ball and put himself in a situation that is most conducive. And what does Jalen Brunson love doing? Shout out Kalen Cooper, the jungle gym. Josh Hart sets a screen. Mitchell Robinson sets a screen. Gershon Yabusele sets a screen. Doesn't even matter who the 5th guy is out there. I think Brunson would do very well in lineups, even lineups that don't have the best spacing, because that's how Jalen Brunson succeeds. He loves those situations.
The Brunson being successful, and then like that's never been an issue for me. It's just like, how about we not put him on the jungle gym and put him in a sandbox that's wide open for him to do whatever he wants in it,
Yeah, and look, we have a lot of time to talk about this. I think there's going to be a lot of time where we see Brunson on the floor with both Hart and Mitchell Robinson, and
those lineups, I agree, will be successful. Those are 3 very good basketball players. It was just, we never got to it. It's the Josh Hart conversation has so little to do with Josh Hart, in my opinion. Like it has so much to do with how he's used. The 30-minute to 25-minute version of Josh Hart, I just talked about it. They went 16-6 in the minutes the year before he became a starter, where he was just a bench player. And he would come in a game and do all the Josh Hart things. And oh my gosh, this is a change of pace. He has activated Obi Toppin. He has given them a lethal second unit.
Exactly.
And when that's there to start the game, especially now that you have other guys, because there's a crunch time conversation around Josh Hart. The teams were just like, we're going to put our center on Josh, and every crunch time possession is Josh comes and sets the pick, and everybody else is a spacer.
That's the better question, by the way.
He had more clutch time field goal attempts than Karl-Anthony Towns last season. So that would speak more to your Deuce should start.
Deuce will. I think Deuce will start.
You think Deuce will start? I want to see it before. I want to see a coach do it before I actually think it's going to happen. Personally,
the better question is how many games does Josh Hart close this year? And my guess is, again, just my guess, more games than he starts.
It's honestly, it leads perfectly into lasting legacy for me. He's my buddy Bryce Simon, who does the Pistons Pulse and obviously does game theory. Like, you need the big play to happen. It's Josh Hart's probably going to make it. You need the big rebound, the big screen, the big assist, the big loose ball that you needed your team to get. Josh Hart's going to get it. Like, we have countless memories of him doing this in important playoff games. This is a franchise that, as we've discussed on this list, does not play a lot of playoff games. And for the last 2.5 seasons, they've played the biggest of the century with him on the floor. And I hope they get to play even further into the playoffs with him on the floor. And I think they will. And I thank him for allowing me to say yes to a lot of those questions that I had earlier.
For as many triple doubles as Josh Hart has had for as many massive shots as he has made. Game 1 against the Cavs, Game 1 against the Sixers, Game 6 against the Sixers. I'm forgetting a bunch, I'm sure. The lasting legacy Josh Hart has with Knicks fans, and I hate that I have to go here to this quote, who was not uttered by a Knicks coach. The lasting legacy of Josh Hart with Knicks fans is Josh Hart doesn't get 50-50 balls. Josh Hart gets 70-30 balls. You know? And to your point that you just made, if you need a play, it doesn't matter what the odds are. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It doesn't matter how big the moment is. In fact, the bigger the moment, the more likely it is that he is going to be there to make the play. He has been, in so many ways, over the last 25 years, the time period that we're considering, the most dependable Knick to show up in a big spot that we've had that isn't named Jalen Brunson. And I know that's putting him above a lot of really, really, really big names for as bad as they've been for most of the last 25 years. They've still had a lot of guys here who have come through big in the clutch. I'm sorry, other than Brunson, who's literally the clutch player of the year in the NBA this past season, I'm taking Josh Hart over all of them.
Although you took 13 other people over Josh Hart.
It's a holistic ranking. I was considering a lot of things.
No, that was too easy. Look, obviously, I agree. I had him 6th. I can't tell the story of the last 25 seasons without a lot of important playoff games that Josh Hart was on the floor for and was a part of and played a big role in them winning. So, I'm just gonna get romantic about this at the end. Like I said, you fall in love with players, with teams, and certain, like the way we talk about the 23-24 Knicks and how sad we were to see that team go, right? Like, if and when the Knicks win a title, one of the players I'm excited to see hold the trophy up is Josh Hart.
Oh,
like that's how much he has meant to me and my fandom of the Knicks. And you brought up John Starks earlier. Like, he reminds a lot of old school Knicks fans of that era. And I'm excited to see how Mike Brown's going to deploy him, because maybe that good feeling toward Josh Hart will come back for a lot of people that haven't had that feeling toward him in maybe a calendar year since a trade was made.
Let's end with this question. It's a yes or no question. Because someone asked it to me. Did I get asked this question? I think I was at some point, probably early last season. Yes or no, does Josh Hart eventually get his number retired with the Knicks?
Yes.
Man, it's a high bar.
It is. I think this franchise has done good things to remember those that win them titles, which is the other part of the question I'm answering.
The easy way to answer this is if they win a title, yes. If they
yes,
win a title,
which is why my answer is yes. If
you think they're going to win a title, okay.
If they don't, then it becomes a fascinating conversation. But yeah, I'll say yes.
Okay. I think if they win a title, I mean, Brunson's numbers gonna at this rate.
They might as well retire it now.
Yeah, might as well retire it now. I think Hart's number will be the second number to go up if they win a title after Brunson.
It's fun to dream, isn't it, John?
It is a lot of fun. Listen, here's what I say about Josh Hart. Best compliment I could give him: I don't ever want Josh Hart to play for another team for as long as he is in the league. He is I've been pretty open over the last couple of years about the fact that my fandom has changed, in that my personal attachment to players is just not what it used to be. There are two guys on this team that I never want to see play for another franchise. It's Jalen Brunson and it's Josh Hart. And I frankly, it's weird. This weird to say, kind of depressing to say. I don't know that I will ever feel that way about another player that puts on a Knick uniform again. That I will really care that much about like what happens. Is like as long as it makes the team better. I don't want Josh Hart playing anywhere else. It would be too weird. It would be too strange. So yeah, let's hope he stays and maybe he goes out on top. Jerome Bettis style. That's the guy I'm always going to think of.
Let's hope he more has like a Draymond and Clay and Steph run with the, because Jerome Bettis won one at the very end of his career. I don't think Josh Hart is anywhere near the end of his career, and I think
is he 31?
He's exactly 31.
He's 31.
Yeah, I think he was the oldest person on the team when he got traded here. That was playing.
Yeah,
because like Derrick Rose and Fournier were here.
I mean, he's got 2 more years left on his contract, I think. Well, no, he has 1 more and then the team option, I think. I'm pretty sure.
He signed a 4-year extension, right?
No, we're going
which started last year. No, he has 2 more years. Oh, no, you're right. It's this year. Was it a 3+1 that he signed, or was it a 4?
I'm already looking at it. So he's got this year and then next year, and then is the club option.
So it's a 2+1. Yeah.
For $22.3 million, which look, he's going to be here this year, and he's almost certainly, I would guess, going to be here next season. After that, who knows? We'll see.
I think I'm confident. Well, okay. I said this about Dante. Listen, he's going to be here this year, and I think this year's going to be a very good year. So.
You know what? Again, we're 2 years away from this. If I had to place my chip right now, I would bet on they decline the team option and they extend him out more years at a lower number, maybe a declining contract, something like that. I think Josh Hart is smart enough that he knows the best outcome for him as a basketball player, and perhaps almost as importantly to him, off the court, as a media personality, both today and for after he retires. I think he knows damn well where his bread is going to be buttered the best and the most, and it's right here in New York. I don't think he has any desire to ever play in another city. If
he does leave, who gets the pod? Or do the roommates break up because they're no longer roommates anymore?
No, that's the pod. If it's Jalen and Josh, that's the roommates pod. If one of them isn't there, then there's no more pod.
Oh, yeah, he's staying. Then he's gonna do whatever it takes then to keep the pod going, so he can do that once a month or twice a month, however many times they do that show.
I
shouldn't even be talking about it. They're our competition.
Yeah, of course. Shout out to Jalen and Josh. Mm-hmm. All right. This was fun. I said
Matt. You guys, yes, Matt Hillman. Yes. Shout out to them.
Shout out to all 3 of them. Okay. We're done. Thank you, Andrew Claudio. You toughed this one out. And you did not, unlike Josh Hart, in the eyes of some, you did not disappoint.
I hope. Maybe people want Deuce to co-host this pod with you.
Who's Deuce in this analogy?
Well, Benji. I have no idea where we go with that.
Who's the guy that every KFS fan and listener is like, I wish that person was on more?
Jeff. That's who it is. Everybody wants Jeff. Jeff is arguably the best broadcaster out of all of us.
Then I'm probably Josh Hart.
Yeah. We're all Josh Hart next to Jeff. Jeff is Jeff's Deuce McBride in this sense.
Yeah.
All of energy.
Shout out to Jeff.
Jeff, if you make it to the end of this pod and you hear this, like my dad consistently is like, I walk away from every Jeff J pod that he's on more impressed with his ability to orate. And like my dad's a pastor, so he knows what that gift is. So tune in for Casual Friday all season long.
Yes, we have a lot. And on that note, we should say we're recording this, and I think the episode is dropping today, right? September 10th. We're less than 2 weeks away from Media Day.
Yep.
So
11 exactly.
Yeah, it's coming. So get ready. We'll obviously be covering Media Day and the preseason and all of the different things as we lead up to the beginning of Knicks basketball, which is about 6 weeks away, I think. But much more to come until then. Shout out to Andrew Claudio. Seriously, great stuff from you, toughing it out. Shout out to Ben Kim Gervey for these mugs. And shout out to everybody out there checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We will be back with more fun and games before you know it. Peace out.